Good morning and welcome to ASI's Tuesday morning show where our most outspoken editors talk promo products. Hi there, I'm Dave Vagnoni from Counselor Magazine. Happy to be joined today by Chris Ruvo, senior writer for Advantages Magazine. Chris, what's happening?
Dave, not much. Just still basking in the glow of that Cole Hamels no-hitter.
I think we might be talking trade deadline, baseball trade deadline today towards the end of the show.
It's kind of where the minds are at, but we're going to engage at work eventually.
Yeah, we're gonna get to work at some point today. We have a lot of stuff happening at ASI right now, in addition to baseball trade deadline talk. We just had the Counselor Awards out in Chicago, which was fun. The Counselor Road Tour is happening this week, and I have a link here if folks want to follow counselormag.com/road tour is the site that folks can go if they want to check out where Andy, Melinda, and CJ are. I think they're in Canada right now. Andy's having some Wi-Fi problems, but he'll get that solved
soon enough.
Point. And on Twitter and Instagram, hashtag Counselor Tour is the place to follow what those guys are doing, their shenanigans on the road. So we think we have a solid show planned this morning. It's all focused on social media strategies. And I'll tell you, if one of the very best people, if you want to talk about social media, one of the best people to chat with is our expert guest this morning. Marky Lemons-Ryle is on the line. Marky, what's happening? How are you?
Hey, nothing much. Glad to be here this morning. How are you?
We're great. We heard you a little bit in Chicago. You were bringing in the big crowds out there, so we're happy to have you on the show. One of our frequent show speakers. I know you've written a few books on social media, and I want to get going with the question about selling. You know, we're not experts. You're the expert, but you know there are folks that we're constantly telling you have to sell first. Sell first. Spend most of your time, if you're a salesperson, you're a business owner, selling. And yet this social media comes in there and has to fit in there somewhere. So, Marky, if I'm the type of person that I want to focus my day on selling, how do I successfully fit in a few minutes for social media? And where do I put my resources if I'm the person that just wants to sell most of the time?
Well, if you're the person who wants to sell most of the time, one thing to keep in mind is that no one leaves home without their mobile device, and they all have apps on them being some type of social media site. The beautiful thing about social media and technology is that it allows you to listen to conversations, no matter what social network and site. And so if you're selling, one of the best ways to sell is to know who needs what and when they need it. And people tell you what they need without directly telling you. So an example would be if you're working in the wedding industry and the promotional products, and people are talking about, I just got engaged, that means that soon they're going to need what? Your products. If someone was in the baby business, right, soon as someone says, I'm pregnant, in 9 months, they're going to need your products. And so when it comes to social media and technology, it's not about selling, it's about listening and providing people what they need when they need it.
Interesting.
You know, Marky, I think you already started to hit on this with that answer, but I'll ask it. Broadly speaking, what is at the heart of an effective social media strategy for business?
It's planning, but it's giving people, so let's go back to just search engine optimization. Everybody searches for exactly what they want in their language or based on their region. With that being said, the only way I'm going to be found is if I come up in their search results, which means I'm using keywords that they've actually searched for. If not, then I'm wasting my time. And so I start off with google.com/ I look at Google Alerts, Google Trends, and Google AdWords. I talk to people the way that they search. It's not about us and selling. It's about providing people what they want when they need it.
You know, I want to chat for a couple minutes, Marky, about Facebook. I'll tell you, I am a huge Facebook skeptic. I'm a Twitter person. You know, I feel like Facebook is for all those people who are older than 50, just like Instagram is for 9-year-old girls. So convince me, Marky, that Facebook is still a good place to go. And if I'm going to invest time with my company, what about Facebook maybe I'm not quite aware of if I'm not going there a lot? What about Facebook should I be utilizing that's really going to help me set myself apart?
I would probably say the graph search, where I'm going in and I can look at friends who like other people's business pages, and then I can set up what is target and repixel. That means that if you go to my website or you go to one of my landing pages, when you come back to Facebook, you're going to see my ads. And so I love Facebook for the analytics inside of it are absolutely phenomenal. They'd probably be any social networking site, even those of Google, because I can do the target and repixel. I can look at, my competition's business page and find out who's liking their business page, who's engaging with their business page, how often they engage. And also, it's called repurposing content, not, cloning content, but repurposing content. So I'm looking at my biggest competitors, their content. I'm utilizing the target and repixel. And I, once again, know everything that's going on, so I would know what pages you like and how to attract you as well.
Where do you find these tools, Marky? Are there drop-down, I'm showing my age here. Are there drop-down menus? Are there, sidebars? Where you're mentioning terms that I've heard once or twice just from reading, but where do I actually find them and how do I use them on Facebook?
So when you go to Facebook, if you type in graph search right at the very top center, it's not necessarily typing in graph search, it's typing in terms. And so an example would be if I go in, I could put in fans of ASI show, and it would show me people, titles, other pages that like your page. And so I have to tell it what I'm looking for, and then it delivers. So you're putting terms together based on what you're looking for, because I could do pages liked by realtors who like, realtor.com. And it will break that whole list down for me. And so I'm able to see those people. So that's right there at the top center. When it comes to the targeting, the repixel targeting, you have to go into the ads, and you're going to have to do the ads off of a business page. And so yesterday I ran an ad for an event I'm doing next week, and it's letting me know that 316 people watched the video, and I spent $5 for the ad to run 24 hours.
Yeah, all right, that's good ROI.
And then it breaks down the demographics and everything. Who looked at that video?
Facebook needs to do a better job of letting people know they can do these things. Because what you're talking about sounds like Google, right? It sounds like analytic stuff that Google, makes known. But I had no idea that Facebook, could do some of what you're talking about. So I think Facebook needs to do a better job of promotion. But anyway, Chris.
Yeah, no, and it's a good segue because we want to get into kind of some tips and tricks for using LinkedIn for tools that people might not be aware of. So, Marky, can you tell me what are some underutilized tools, features, or strategies that people in the promotional products industry could use on LinkedIn?
Well, for me, LinkedIn is heavy on search engine optimization and keywords. But what we don't often do is we're not posting consistently, and we're not tagging other businesses within our post. So if you work with pharmaceutical companies, I could post a great new product or service that meets their needs, and I could tag Pfizer, I don't know if Merck is still around, but Amgen in that post. And I could also tag people who I might know from that industry about the benefits. So yesterday I worked with BMO Harris. I tagged BMO Harris and my loan officer in a post about an event we're doing or they're sponsoring next week.
But what happens when someone gets tagged or a company gets tagged?
They can now, it'll come up in their stream, and they can also then decide if they want to reshare that content. And so people know once they're tagged, it comes up as a notification to them.
And is there a cost, Marky, when it comes to LinkedIn for doing what you just mentioned?
I use the free version of LinkedIn because I don't believe that people maximize the free version. One thing that people definitely don't do is they don't use the publishing platform to publish a blog, and they could actually repurpose their own blog content on LinkedIn, but wait at least 2 weeks. And so, everything I do is on the free version of LinkedIn.
I think that's a smart approach. Again, everybody, we're talking to Marky Lemons-Ryle, who is really one of the smart social media folks out there right now, and we're jumping around to different social media platforms. I'm hoping everyone's getting a few tips out there when it comes to social media. I want to get into my wheelhouse, which is Twitter. I love Twitter. I'm on Twitter very often. My wife says I'm on Twitter too much. I'm a news and I'm a sports junkie, so I feel like I can get a lot of my information there. When it comes to Twitter, give us some tips there, times of day you should be tweeting, the types of audiences maybe you should be going after. How can folks use Twitter effectively? For example, whenever I see a photo or a video or a GIF, that's what stops me on Twitter. That's what draws my attention. Is that the same for you, Marky?
Well, yes, or keywords.
Okay.
However, I actually listen to different streams of conversation on Twitter. It's probably the easiest of the social networking sites to listen to conversations. So I'm listening to anything that comes up with ASI. I can listen either to you, every tweet you have, or if you have a special hashtag for an event, I can listen for that hashtag. I could also put promotional products with a question mark. That means that if anyone comes to Twitter and they have a question on promotional products, because Twitter has the ability to measure sentiment, then I receive a notification and I can reply to their question. What I like about LinkedIn is Twitter is the ability to load 4 photos, which very few people do. So I recommend when on Twitter, you want to maximize and use 4 photos, and you can tag up to 10 people in that tweet. And it doesn't go against your character count.
Is there a time of day, I guess it depends on who you're trying to target, but is there a time of day that more tweets are read? For example, I'm not going to be on Twitter at a crazy hour of the night or first thing in the morning. I might be more on Twitter during lunch or if I'm on the road. Is there a time of day, if my business, let's say, is mostly in the Midwest, is there a time of day I should be tweeting more often than not?
So if your business is in the Midwest, you want to do it based on the Midwest time zone. So we have to get in the time zone of where our clientele is. And if you are global, then you want to set up tweets in each time zone. And so the broader your company is in regards to location, the more often you need to tweet in order to hit those different time zones. Within those time zones, people tweet generally 3 times a day. Early morning before work, lunch break, and then right after work in that time zone. So it's all time zone based.
And I would think you'd want to have conversations with your clients on Twitter, right? Is that a key part of engagement? That seems like one of the easier ways. If someone's going to say something about me, I'd want to reply to them. Is that just an obvious thing?
One, you want to reply. You want to offer something of value to them.
Okay.
And so on Twitter, one thing to keep in mind, we used to live in a world of 6 degrees of separation. On Twitter, there isn't 6 degrees of separation. I can tap anybody on the shoulder and have potential dialogue with them on Twitter. And you can expand that with direct messaging to then try to take your conversation into your preferred tool, and it doesn't have to stay on Twitter.
Interesting. Yeah, no, Marky, we wanted to talk to you about Instagram, which I guess Dave feels is for 9-year-old girls. And I guess maybe that's my question there, is that some people, especially in the B2B space, I think are a bit skeptical that Instagram can work for them. So first off, is it useful for people in the business-to-business space?
Oh, most definitely, because people in the business-to-business space are still visual. And so right now we're going to see an increase in photos and videos because people are visual. What I love about LinkedIn, and I keep this in mind all the time, the demographics of LinkedIn, of Instagram are
You're
younger.
Loving that LinkedIn today, Marky.
I'm loving. Well, you know what? I make more money with LinkedIn than any of the social networking tools.
There you
and
go.
I don't spend any
That
money
explains
on
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in love with LinkedIn. Shame on me. But Instagram. So one thing to keep in mind, yes, the demographics are younger. However, from Instagram, I'm able to share a photo instantly with 5 different social networking sites. And when I use a tool called If This Then That, I can expand that to 7 sites. So when I'm looking at Instagram, it's not always about the analytics I'm going to pull from Instagram. It's also the analytics I will pull from the up to 7 different social networking sites that I've shared that one photo with or I've shared that video with. And so never underestimate the power of Instagram because of the ease in which to share. Also keep in mind, if you are a local business, on Instagram you get to do GEO tagging, and that is priceless because now we're able to see those photos if we were to do a Google search for that location. And so the GEO tagging and the keyword tagging are priceless inside of Instagram.
Or I think another question people would have on this platform, if they accept that it can work for them, what should they be posting? I think people get confused. What kind of content should I post? For people in our space, in the promotional products field, what kind of stuff should they be looking to put out there?
Well, in the promotional products field, one, they could show behind the scenes. They could show processes. They could utilize photo collage before and after. Or if they were to have two samples, totally different colors, kind of like A/B, like split testing, they could actually, on Instagram with photo collage, do split testing and ask people's opinion. And so the opportunities are endless with what they can do with all those photos that they have on their mobile devices, their tablets, their laptops, their desktops. Pull those photos out and get them onto Instagram and let those photos demonstrate what you have to offer as it pertains to promotional products.
It does seem natural, what you're saying, Marky. We have products. This is a product-based industry, so you'd want to show photos of what you're doing behind the scenes and the products that you're selling. We've covered a lot of topics. One thing that I thought was super interesting, and I believe you were the only speaker in Chicago that did this, is you were using Periscope. And it's sort of a newer platform. Tell us about Periscope. I know we're gonna try that out with counselors soon. What is Periscope? What can people use it for? And what are the most effective ways to use it?
Well, Periscope is live streaming video that only is on the internet for 24 hours. And so you utilize it for a call to action. Maybe you're having a 24-hour sale and you want to demonstrate what's going to go on sale. And you might talk about the texture, the colors, the value. That's why you would utilize Periscope. Also for potential interviews. And so we often do video when we're at ASI shows. We can do those videos now in two different formats. I would actually start the video and conduct it in Periscope because the video is going to save to your device, and then load that video to YouTube. I'm all about repurposing or create once, post everywhere where socially acceptable. So Periscope is live streaming video.
So how did you do that at Chicago? I wasn't in your session for the whole time. Did you have like a selfie stick or something set up where you could talk and be broadcasting? How did you do that?
Okay. I have a remote selfie stick because it acts as a stabilizer. And I can rotate the camera. So you just double tap the camera and it'll rotate, either as a selfie video or as a regular video. And you engage with people. They heart your video, and then you verbally interact with them. So it's hard to do it in a class because you're supposed to be quiet.
Sure.
It's better in an interview situation. And you have to multitask because you're essentially interviewing a person but also talking to people as they are watching the video because they're commenting.
Yeah, I think that would be great on the trade show floor.
It would be excellent.
Place for it. Yeah, maybe we'll see that next year in Orlando. Okay, Marky, listen, we appreciate your time. I wanted to get to one last question. We've talked about social media, and we've talked about things that individuals can do and companies can do to market themselves. When do you get to the point, or what's the point where a business owner should say, listen, I can't quite get everything out of social media I want to myself. I need to hire somebody or bring someone on. What's that point, Marky, and how much really should a social media person be paid? Is it are they paid by the hour? Is it something you incorporate into a marketing position? If you really want to have a dedicated social media person, what's a good rate to pay?
Well, the point where you would hire someone is when you've allocated the funds to be able to pay them. And what I would say is start small and then build. And so if you have, $250 a month, there are numerous services that will give you some type of social media content and support for as little as $250 a month. And then, of course, you could pay people up to six-figure income. And so there's a wide range, but that range also, what you're getting, how many posts, how it's tailored to you and your business, the price also reflects that. And so for $250 a month, you're going to get content. It's not going to necessarily be specialized. I don't think it's going to be the greatest in search engine optimization. And it might feel a little generic, but it gets you out there. So what I recommend to people is they understand some of the tools themselves. Then they do a small budget allocation, because at the end of the day, I need to capture your information. So to me, you really use social media to do list building. And so then I can come back and make money as a result of the relationship. If they're not doing that, then some of their efforts might be in vain. But based on their sales and increase in sales, then they increase the budget.
Yeah.
And the more they spend, the better the content they're going to receive.
Yeah, it makes sense. It does make sense. Well, listen, some great insight there from Marky Lemons-Ryle. Marky, thanks for being on the show. People want to find you. Where should they look? Where can people find you?
Marky Lemons, Markilemons. I am the only one in the world, and so if you spell my name right, you will find me.
All right. Marky, that's a deal. Listen, stay in touch and you be well, okay?
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks again, Marky.
Marky is great. We love having her on the show as often as we can. She is...
and a real trooper this morning. She woke up with a hoarse voice, she told us.
Yeah, she emailed you and said, well, what can we do? And we said, we're still going to put you on the show.
Absolutely. We cracked the whip, and she was okay with that. So thanks again, Marky.
Yeah, Marky's a good gal, and she was in Chicago, and please look for her online. She really does have some good advice. I want to move on to some things that Chris and I found in terms of social media, different campaigns that caught our eye. And by the way, feel free if you want to reach out to us and have a conversation on Twitter, at @Chris_R_ASI and at Vagnoni ASI. We're happy to debate you on Twitter or anywhere else. So I found a few different campaigns that I thought were interesting. Chris, you're going to chime in. One, Nestle. Nestle had an internship opportunity, a 10-week internship opportunity last year, I believe. Mm-hmm. And they decided instead of having people email them, the resume attachment, all that stuff, that they would use Vine. And they would have applicants use Vine, which is, 6 or 7 seconds, mm-hmm. and submit their application through that, like a video. And they had a hashtag along with that, and it really became a successful campaign for them. And they whittled it down to like 6 people they brought in through this Vine app. But I thought that was really smart. And I feel like you don't have to use Vine necessarily, but in our industry, why don't we, especially since we're a marketing and sales industry, why don't we have more people submit applications for jobs using video? Instead of the attachment to the email file that gets lost and you really can't judge a person, wouldn't it be great to have a video of someone?
It makes total sense, because a lot of those skills that you're going to see in creating the video and in how they present themselves in the video is what you'd be looking to glean from a resume anyway. So instead of seeing it's the classic show me, don't tell me, right?
Sure.
Like this would literally give you the chance or applicants a chance to show what they can do, as opposed to presenting a hard copy of something over a table.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a salesperson, you're going to make a sale in that first few seconds, and people are going to judge you. So if you only have, it's kind of neat, you only have 6 or 7 seconds to make that first call. I think that's an interesting way to do it. So Nestle, kudos to Nestle for that campaign. Another one, I believe this was partly a TV campaign as well, Budweiser. And I'll say that I think that Budweiser is one of the culprits of this, mm-hmm. that there's so much pet stuff out there where we have the kitten rolling on the ground. I have to see that again as part of a social media campaign. This one, though, I thought was good. It turned out to be the 9th most watched YouTube ad of 2014. And the tagline was, next time you go out, drinking, of course, next time you go out, be sure to make a plan to get home safely. Your friends are counting on you. Enjoy Budweiser responsibly. And the friend in the video is a puppy. Okay. So it's not just a family member that's relying on you mm-hmm. to get home. It's a puppy that's waiting, and the hashtag was friends are waiting. So I thought it was effective. It was a little it was different because you're not mm-hmm. thinking it would be a puppy the way that the ad ran.
Right.
And I think it did work, even though I think there's sometimes too many pets in social media ads.
I hear what you're saying, and there can be, but there is that, and they do it well here. there's obviously these types of videos, the cat videos, certain fail videos, so to speak, that get so many views, and if you can kind of tap into that without like seeming like you're totally ripping it off or just being generic, you can create a buzz, and I think that's what they did there.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good campaign for Budweiser. The last one I want to bring up, and it's from our industry, and it's not maybe a true campaign as much as it is a pattern. For Imprint, if you notice on Twitter, every time that a client thanks them for providing a good service or good products, they'll retweet that thank you tweet. So it's sort of a testimonial, and it works because it's a soft sell. They're not saying buy from us as much as, here's what we did for another client. Look, they're saying thank you to us. Maybe maybe you should buy from us too, is the insinuation there. I think that's a really good strategy, and it's something they have continued to do, and other companies are starting to pick up on that. But I like what 4imprint does there.
And it's so instantaneous, and it's really, if you think about it, it's taking what you would have done in, say, old media days, or where you'd have a brochure with those things in it. Now you can now your brochure, so to speak, or your vehicle for communicating those testimonials can be social media, and it gets noticed quicker, and it gets to a much wider audience.
Yeah,
so brilliant use.
And I think what you said as far as it being simple is the key, because you just retweet it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other work required other than
it's
maybe
a mouse click.
You're asking your clients, when we do something good for you, let us know, and then we'll retweet that content. Anyway, so those are a few that caught my eye. Chris, do you have some B2B examples?
Yeah, there's this perception, I think, with B2B marketing that it has to be boring because businesses are selling to other business, and that's not so. It's all about how you position it and kind of what you want to do with it. And a great example of a company that's a B2B company that's doing great with social is Maersk. They're the shipping people. They've got the big ocean liners out there, everything. And basically what they're doing with social is they view social platforms as a means to communicate and interact with their audience, and they're not necessarily trying to drive leads. They're trying to spark conversations. They're trying to provide insights about all kinds of different innovations, kind of loosely tied to the world of shipping, transportation, commerce. They're continually tying into topical events, which sparks huge conversations. So for instance, they had, remember Superstorm Sandy from a few years ago that hit the Northeast? They had posts related to how they kind of handle shipping and keep things running smoothly, so to speak, in the wake of that. And that generated all kinds of interest, because people who had no interest in shipping but had an interest in the storm ended up getting involved in the conversation. They interested people in their company and what they do, and it seems to have been incredibly successful. Another thing that they'll do is they on Instagram. So apparently, if Maersk is using it, I guess it's not just for 9-year-olds. I guess they have some 9-year-old interns. Yeah, apparently they created a spotting trend where basically followers who saw the Maersk Star logo took pictures of it and shared them on Instagram with the hashtag Maersk, and I think there was an award that they did a random drawing at the end. So just stuff like that is just a great way of where a company that, all right, you do shipping, that's not necessarily terribly interesting to me unless I'm in that field. Well, here's all these other things that they do to engage outside people.
Yeah. They actually are really smart, and one of the things that caught my eye when I saw what you're referencing, one of their liners actually hit a whale. Not to make light of it, but they hit a whale and killed a whale, and this would be like a PR nightmare for a shipping company, right? Like, you kill a whale, how do you make any good of that? And it turns out they had a Facebook dedicated page, like a memorial page for the whale, wow. and they did it not making light of it, but listen, we know we screwed up, but we're not going to try to bury it. Here's what happened. They talked about it, and people actually were sort of impressed that a large company like that did something that maybe they want to sweep under the rug, was willing to have a conversation and build a page around this whale.
What a brilliant approach!
Yeah.
What a brilliant approach! Because it's that kind of transparent. People, I think, can accept mistakes, but but the minute that you try to lie about it is when you run into trouble. Let me get to one other one here. Who do we want to talk about? GE. So I liked this. General Electric has been dubbed the most exciting, boring brand with that.
Yeah, they are boring in some ways.
But what they've done with their social media presence is they've basically created a community where people can come together and jump in on conversations around innovations in the energy fields, health field, transportation fields, infrastructure, and as you can imagine, that there's a lot of different people who are going to have at least a glancing interest in those things. So what they do on their platforms is they use a mix of questions, images, videos, and links related to that range of topics, and it ends up drawing in all kinds of interest from different people about those larger topics. But what they'll do in the midst of those discussions is kind of insert little bits about the products that they have, or maybe they'll quote directly advertise a little bit about a new product with giving you some information about it, but it's all in the context of this larger, hey, we're educating you about these topics you're interested in, and we're providing a forum for that discussion.
Half subliminal.
Yes, yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's basically, hey, we're providing value and fun, and we're being interesting, and oh, by the way, this is what we happen to do, and that approach has been incredibly effective for them.
Yeah, I think what we're really saying today, and Marky references a few times, is you have social media, you're allowed to have fun with it. You try to come up with it's a great creative platform, social media, and if you can make it relatable, if you can make it funny, if you could include images in there, as long as you're not making a hard sell through social media, really anything is within bounds. And if you can do that with your social media planning, I think you're going to be pretty successful.
Just keep your clothes on, and no like keg stand shots or anything like
That's
that.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll try to remember that, especially on Instagram.
Yes.
of all places. Well, listen, that's all the time we have for today. Again, we thank our special guest, Marky Lemons-Ryle. We thank Lauren and Vinny for their help over at the board and for producing our show. We thank you for listening. For Chris, I'm Dave. You've been listening to ASI Radio. Have a great day.